Hello. Today's topic is going to be about the failure to launch. So many families out there are struggling mightily with this process. So many 20 and 30 somethings are still getting the support of their parents. They're struggling every single day in order to be able to get tasks done or engage in activities, find out their purpose, realize their potential. They're stuck. They're trapped. So many of them are staying up late. They're on screens playing video games. They wake up real late. They eat bad stuff. They don't exercise. They don't leave the house. They don't even have a job. They don't go to school. I want you to stop and think about that for a moment. What would that be like for you? It's very difficult for hard charging, high achieving, type A personalities or people that like to work, people that like to see the end result, that when they navigate through some obstacles or their fears and they get to the end, and then the intrinsic value of challenging yourself, nobody can take that from you. That's a beautiful thing, right? If you're like that and you have a child that's not like that, it's extremely difficult for you to empathize with their plight. There's four main reasons why they're not getting up and launching. One, they're too afraid of some kind of negative outcome. Two, they don't have the requisite skill set to be able to navigate through a certain task or an activity. Three, they're just plain old resistant or rebellious. If you're in this situation, there's got to be some semblance of that. I'm basically saying, no, thank you. I'm not interested. I'm not I'm not going to invest in this process. I'm not going to do what's the best thing. I'm not going to be responsible, and I'm going to fight you tooth and nail. And then the fourth one is plain old laziness. I could do it, but I don't want to do it. I prefer to do something else. I'm going to invest my energy, time, focus, and resources and skills into some other venture. And all of these problems, whatever it is, it could be one, it could be all four of them. The bottom line is these are getting in the way of these kids launching and getting out and doing their thing, being a part of something, engaging in something that's productive, being an asset or ally, producing, contributing to something good in this life. They're stuck and they're being dictated. They're living a fraction of what they could. And many are saying this is okay. It becomes familiar and predictable. It lends a sense of control, sense of power. There's temporary relief. There's no true peace, joy, or freedom in here. But ultimately, many are settling for this. We've worked with so many families that are in this type of scenario, families in which the kids are not doing any schoolwork, they don't have a job, they're not trying to develop skills to be able to get a career or to be able to end up and take their own life into their own hands. They're not. Many social difficulties, guilt, shame, anxiety, depression. Many are suicidal. Many are majorly antagonistic towards their parents or their siblings. I'm talking violence, threats, damage in the house. This is a normal thing in many of these families. You might not know it because a lot of families don't want to talk about this stuff. They want to keep a certain facade. They don't want to think that other people start to judge them and disapprove of them and look at you failed to do this, you failed to do that. Sometimes it's okay to find out the origin of the problem. Oftentimes the parents are complicit. Sometimes it's the kid. Sometimes it's only the kid. Sometimes it's a combination. It doesn't really matter ultimately. The key is that everyone learns in their role and responsibilities exactly what they need to do in order to be able to provide the opportunity for everyone to blossom. We get one chance at this life thing, in my opinion. And if you're not honoring that process, if you're not doing everything you can to find out what your purpose is, if you're not learning how to be assertive in the way that you think and communicate and behave, if you're not learning how to be able to navigate through the challenges and the adversity, then what's the sense in living? You have to expect that there are going to be difficulties. Instead of being afraid, instead of being dictated or dominated, you have to find a way to rise through it. Instead of investing and trying to fight or avoid or being stuck, learn how to fight through things. There's a way through lots and lots of obstacles. Ultimately, we only have so much power and control in this life, but our job, our responsibility is to hit our capacity. And that means we have to work hard. We have to do the difficult thing. We have to do the hard thing, and those are different. The difficult thing you can learn. If there's a high level of complexity, then make a high level of investment in trying to figure it out. Don't waste your time on screens. Don't waste your time sleeping in your room. Don't waste your time staying in your cave. Learn to overcome your fears. Learn to enjoy difficult scenarios. Learn to feel that hard work and that pressure and the demands and the difficulty and say, no, 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 no. I'm a fighter. There's a dog in me, and I have that potential to be able to rise through this. Honor that. Fight. But unfortunately, so many are succumbing to this, and there's lots of apathy. So many of these kids these days are purposeless. They don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. And with all the things that are going on worldwide now and have been and where we're likely headed, it looks really, really gloom and doomy. It looks like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to offer to the world? Obviously, there's tons of kids, 20s and 30-year-olds, that are thriving and doing well on their own, and they're up and running and independent. That's not the issue here. The problem is those other families, those other kids that are struggling mightily. Our job and our roles as coaches and mentors is to be able to provide the guidance, the education, and then a process, a responsibility system that we can hold them accountable to do A, B, C, D, and E, to have a fulfilled day, a fulfilled week, month, year, and life. We want to start with where the baseline is. What is the normal? If a kid's only doing 20 minutes of movement every day, is it reasonable to expect them to do 4 hours? No. But it is 25 minutes, and then the next day 26 or 30, and then the next day a little bit more. Progressive overload is one of the key concepts in this process. I want to take a little side note. I want you to know something about the animal kingdom. The tiger, the mama tiger, provides, protects, and provides the tutelage for their young to be able to learn how to navigate through life. And then once they get to a certain point where they have the requisite skill set to be able to take care of themselves, they need to go. They need to go and get their own territory and do their thing and keep tigers going, Tiger Kingdom going. If they don't leave and this happens, the mama tiger gets a little message. Hey, it's time to bounce out. It's time to go do your own thing. I need to procreate, and we ought to continue to proliferate as a species. If baby tiger doesn't get to the point where it's willing to make that move, the mama tiger will eventually attack. Mama tiger will eventually attack and be pretty darn violent. And I'm not going to tell you the rest of the story, but the moral of it is simply this. You're going to have to push your kids out at some point. And here's where the fear comes in. And it's sizable. Many, many families that we work with, the bottom line question I ask them is, parents, are you willing to do everything right? Make an apology and how you've been complicit. Be very specific. I chose not to hold you accountable. I chose not to push you. I chose to give you the screens or allow you to do this or be too permissive or too lax because I was afraid that you would react with hostility, or I was afraid that you didn't have any friends, or that you were so easily bored, or you couldn't learn easily, or you had these distractions, or whatever it is. And so I felt sorry for you. And I know you needed something, so I gave you and I fed your addiction. And so now I'm complicit. I also was afraid because I knew that if I challenged you to do better, to learn how to calm down in a moment, to learn how to accept no, to learn how to stop doing something that you want to do, to go do something that you didn't prefer to do, I didn't want to go through that process because it was so draining because you would fight me back, and I didn't want to honor that. I was lazy. I preferred to use my energy for something else, or I was just too drained. I was working too hard. I had other things that were priorities. I was going through this or going through that, and I couldn't help you. I couldn't stay in those moments with you. I couldn't challenge you. And then I just said, okay, they'll figure it out. Saying sorry for being fearful that they would go do something and harm themselves. This is a big, big, big thing. Many, many kids that we worked with at some point before we ended up interfacing with them have chosen to say, forget it. I'm not going to follow my parents' plan. I'm not going to do what society or what an organization or a business or a school wants me to do. I rebel against it, and I'd rather choose to be homeless. That's a real thing. That's dangerous. That's scary, right? As a parent, you don't want that for your child. But unfortunately, oftentimes, if a kid's not willing to do their part, that's what ends up happening. And as a parent, the part of our sell to them is that you're going to have courage. You're going to have to take a leap of faith. You got to do everything you can in the process to get as close to neutral as a jump off point, meaning you got to clean up whatever messes have been occurring to previous, and then do everything right. Make sure it's clear as day what they need to do for your to support for a time with titration down, giving them all the assets that they need, all the education they need, the skill development, and then let them go and be okay with that. That's a scary thing for a lot of people. And the reality is there's a lot of kids out there that are not going to choose to be responsible. They're not going to choose to be wise. They're going to choose the simplest, easiest path out. That's the problem. When you're choosing to do the simplest, quickest, easiest, you're going to end up atrophying the muscles that you have within you. You're not strengthening. You're not building up your endurance or your agility or your flexibility or your versatility. And without that, you're going to struggle in life because it is challenging. Every single day, no matter who you are, we are in the middle of a war. There's so many battles every single day about every single moment what you're going to think, say, and do. And so many of these 20 and 30-year-olds that are struggling, they have not learned to do it. They take the easiest route. They go to their addictions. They do whatever they can to manipulate or split their parents or cause divisiveness, create chaos and confusion. These kids drag their parents into their stadium with their rules, with their referees, with their implements and their fans. And parents are distracted. They got a bunch of stuff going on. Sometimes they're confused and don't know exactly what to do. Sometimes they want to do the extreme, have nothing to do with it, leave them be, and keep supporting them, over supporting them. Or sometimes they want to get real harsh and hostile and say, yeah, that's enough. I'm resentful. You didn't do your part. We gave you all this and you didn't take advantage of it. You're on your own. Either of those extremes are not going to help. There has to be a process and they have to be responsible in it. Ultimately, when I say all these things, in certain situations, if you've done all the right things, it is time to launch them and give them the boot. And that's the right thing. Sometimes it is the right thing to keep providing for them. But those situations, I think, are rare from what I've seen. What I've seen is parents need to be able to rise to the occasion, make sure they have a real clear, crisp plan, the specifics, exactly what they need to do to help the child to be able to get to the point where they say, you know what, I'm ready to do this. Share a quick story with you. Envision that your child is out in the middle of the ocean and they're struggling. They don't know how to swim. They don't even know how to tread water. What are you going to do as a parent? You're going to give them a boat, right? So you give them a rowboat. You give them oars, and they might row a little bit. They might not. They might just sit there. Ultimately, you want your child to be able to have the courage to leap over the boat and into the ocean, knowing that there's a whole bunch of things to fear under there, but have that courage and trust and faith. Do that. Learn to put some movements together, tread water. Oh, hey, wait a minute. I can do this. I can stay in the moment despite my fears, despite my discomfort, despite this being a difficult, hard thing. I can stay and survive. That's powerful. That's powerful. And then to get motivated and say, okay, I'm surviving. I like that. I like this. But I got to start moving towards something. So start to put movements together. Get those movements more proficient, get more skilled, build up your endurance, eventually get to shore, look back and go, I don't ever want to do that again, but I know that I have done it, and therefore that instills strength within me. My efficacy, I know that I can do it. I've proven it to myself, which is more important than anything else, that I can survive and thrive and get to resources. That's a beautiful thing. How many kids, 20-somethings and 30-somethings, have been struggling and have been in patterns and dynamics that have been reinforced and are very, very powerful. They're dominant. Most kids, they're not going to do it. So they prefer to stay in that boat. That boat starts to have a hole in it. Parents give them a bucket. Sometimes they're scooping out the water compulsively. They're getting exhausted. They're worn down. They still need to jump overboard. That would be the right thing to do. Ultimately, many, many don't. So what's left? That boat sinks, and then they have to figure it out. Or you pick the kid up and you throw him out. Either way, it's all figurative, but ultimately it's the same message. One way or another, of their own volition, they choose to get on board and overcome all this stuff, or you got to push them. But the key is you push them with all the support and structure that they need. You just can't say, okay, goodbye, go figure it out. That's ridiculous. That's irresponsible. No parent in their right mind should do that. With all this being said, If you're in this scenario and you're struggling with this whole process, your child needs support and structure from someone outside of yourself, most likely. Someone who gets it, someone that cares, someone that's going to be working alongside with them. The key is, I'll do this, you do this, we'll do this. That's got to be the process, not expect them to do everything on their own. You have to do baby steps. If they're used to doing stuff habitually one way, it's very difficult to change those patterns. Additionally, you need to have, like I said, a specific game plan of what is a normal, typical, fulfilling day look like for someone who's 20 years old or 25 or 30 or 35 or whatever it is. What is the norm? What do people do to fill up their time? I'm going to tell you there's 5 troublemakers that get in the way of all this. Boredom, loneliness, disappointment, disapproval, and discouragement. When it comes down to it, you have to help your child learn how to solve those problems. There's nothing wrong with those 5. They're not troublemakers unless they become. You need to learn to pivot from them, learn how to solve them, be proactive, have a response plan so that you don't get reactive. If you don't learn how to navigate those 5 scenarios successfully, you're going to be in trouble no matter who you are. Keep this in mind if you're trying to launch your child. You have to account for what's the game plan to solve boredom, loneliness, disappointment, disapproval, and discouragement. You have to account for that. Most people do not know how to handle those that are struggling. Those are precursors to addictive, irresponsible, and aggressive behaviors. Keep those 5 in mind at all times. It's your responsibility as a parent to help them figure out how to solve those. That's something that should have been done a long time ago. And I know it's challenging. Trust me, I get it. With that being said, there are ways to do it. Think about what your child really truly needs to do. Think about exactly where they are and think about what leverage you have. I'll tell you where your leverage lies. If you're providing finances, you have all the money, so therefore you have the power to be able to influence them. If they have screens and they're in your home, you control those as well. I know it gets combative. I know it gets hostile. I know it gets violent. Those type of scenarios, you need special coaching. You need the extra support. Contact me if you're in those type of scenarios, and I'll do everything I can to help you. But for the general populace that are struggling with this launch process, there are simple, easy things that you can do. If you also need help with that, let me know. I will be doing more videos around this topic. So many families, unfortunately, are struggling with this, and I want to do whatever I can to be of support. All this to say that nobody wants to live life suboptimally. No one wants to sit in their cave all day and be miserable. Nobody wants to be afraid all the time. Nobody wants to just blah, I just don't care anymore. Nobody wants to live like that. It's not easy. I know this. But ultimately, every single one of us has a decision to make each and every moment. It's our responsibility to help anyone that's struggling to do whatever we can to put them in position to launch. It's our responsibility. It's us as a team to help them to be able to fight that battle. The battle typically is against themselves, that part of themselves that wants to be lazy and irresponsible and weak and inferior and a failure and all that other negative stuff. We have to do what we got to do to help them. And I'm going to tell you one big secret in all of this. As resentful as you may be, as afraid as you may be, the guilt or the shame, the stress, the sadness, all of that stuff, I get it. Those are all designed to let you know that there's a problem. You have to find a way to dump all that, to start fresh, to be present in the moment, and to have to empathize. As best as possible, put yourself in a position of the way that the child is thinking or feeling, and then say, okay, I got to put myself in that same exact position. And I have to say, hey, I don't understand it fully, but I have some semblance, some idea of it, and reference that. That's key. Your child, the child, needs to know that you've gone through something similar. They don't need to always know every single time you made the right decision and you did the successful thing. That becomes too daunting for a lot of kids. They need to know when you struggled, when you messed up, when you made the wrong choices. Ultimately, there's a lot that goes into this process. If you've already launched your children and everything's lovely, then this video is really not for you. If you're struggling and you need support, ask specific questions. Tell me exactly what you need and I'll provide it. It's difficult to send these videos out there and not be talking to someone specifically, but I'll gladly, if you want to come on board and you want to have a session together and we want to record it so we could be a blessing to other families and other kids out there, you let me know. I'm down for that. All that to say this, I'm your ally in life. I want to do whatever I can to help. If you're struggling, don't continue to think, oh, you know what, it'll just get better naturally. That's extremely rare. It's not going to happen. You have to be intentional. You have to have an action plan. You have to know what those obstacles are going to be, and you have to have response options in play, and you have to have the energy, focus, skill, and resources to be able to just do it. Then you got to evaluate your progress. I'm here to help. I hope that you're not struggling, but if you are, you know where you can find me. You guys take care.